Good afternoon, people. This is Swag Tech Chris back at you again with another training video. Today we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna go into some uh, higher level training for all my system admins here. Um, we're gonna actually figure out today or set up uh, a virtual machine in Hyper-V, and I'll walk you through how to install Hyper-V on a Windows 10 or Windows 11 machine. I have Windows 11, but it's the same concept as in Windows 10 if you haven't upgraded to Windows 11 yet. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Now I already have Windows Hyper-V already loaded, but I can still walk through the steps of getting it installed on your machine. So first thing we're gonna do is gonna go ahead and click the start button, and we're gonna type in the search bar up here, turn Windows features, and then you can come down here and click turn Windows features on or off. And it may take a minute to populate this list here, and then you can come down to Hyper-V, check that box, click OK. And of course, mine is already installed, so it's not going to install it, but and then it'll run through a quick setup. It'll have you reboot the machine, and once you come back in, you will have Hyper-V Manager here, or you can just type it in up here, Hyper-V. Type in Hyper, it'll pull it up, pull up Hyper-V Manager, and it'll pull up this window. Now in here, we can start with our first virtual machine. I am going to install Windows Server 20. I think I have 2012. Let me make sure on here. Or is it 2016? I think I have 2016 or 19. Look at all my messy downloads folder here. I got an eval, so you can actually go out on Microsoft's website and download the evaluation from the evaluation center. Let's see, I got that one. I don't want that one. I want the other one. But I've downloaded it in ISO format. Give me just a second to find it here. Oh, it doesn't matter. I think it's 2019. So what we can do is there's two ways to create a virtual machine. We can either do a quick create, and of course it has some pre-installed or pre-loaded packages here, or you can actually do a MSIX packaging tool where you can actually build you an image here and then deploy it. Or what I'm going to do is actually create local installation source, since I have um, an ISO. And let me do this real quick before we get into that. We'll go to Microsoft Evaluation Center. And you can click the first one. All right. And click out of that. No, I don't want to participate. So get started evaluating the product. You got Windows, you got hybrid, you got servers, Office servers, integration services, stuff like this. System Center. I'm going to go with Windows. You can do Windows 11 Enterprise, 365 SDK, Windows Server 2022, 2019, Windows Admin Center. So um, if you want Windows 2019 as an eval, and there's a 180-day evaluation on it. Of course, you come down, it'll put you here. You can either do it in Azure, you can do it as ISO, or you can do a VHD file. Now, the VHD file you can actually load into Hyper-V. I like to do mine ISO and install it myself. But you can actually come in here and if you're using Azure, you can do click one of these three options. It'll ask you a couple of questions, and then you can go ahead and it'll prompt you to download it. So I just want to show you guys that real quick. So what I'm going to do is come back here, and we're going to quick create our virtual machine. So I'm going to click local installation source since I have an ISO. Then I'm going to change my installation source, and then I'm going to come to downloads. And I am going to, I have Ubuntu on here. I can actually load Ubuntu on here. And I have right here eval. And actually, I think both of these are the same. This is, you click there. And then it'll load it in there. You make sure that's there. And then you can create the virtual machine. So it'll create the new machine. All right. And so what we want to do is actually come in and edit the settings here real quick because we just want to make sure we got all the settings correct. So we have hard drive, DVD drive, network adapter, which is not, it's on the default switch. So we're going to have to come back in here later on and change the network adapter and create actually a network switch in the Hyper-V. But everything looks good. We're going to click OK, and then we're going to connect to it. And then we're going to start it. All right, so we're going to press any key to boot from the CD or DVD, which is going to pull up that ISO file. And we'll install Server 2016. So keep the defaults there. Go ahead and install now. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a standard eval. Yeah, we'll just do a standard eval desktop experience. All right, so we'll click next. And then I accept the agreement. And so we're going to do a custom install. Sure, 127 gigs. We'll click next. And then anybody who's installed Windows before knows, you know, this is the standard stuff. And this may take a few minutes, so we'll probably fast forward through this one or cut it for time's sake. So. So once it finishes installing, it's going to restart the virtual machine. And we should have a fresh install of server 2016 on this Windows 11 installation. Of course, it's going to go through the whole setup like it does with any Windows, getting everything ready. So we might fast forward through this or cut it in editing. Once it gets everything ready, it'll restart again. Barring any issues with the installation, we should have a fresh copy of uh, Windows 2016 on here. So we'll go ahead and set our password. Click finish. And here we go. We're at the starts the login screen. So we can actually click action to Control Alt Delete in. With server operating systems, you have to hit Control Alt Delete to be able to get in. So we're gonna send the Control Alt Delete to the system here, and then we're gonna put in our password that we just set, and click there, and we'll get logged in here. Preparing Windows. There we go. We have a fresh install of Server 2016 on our as a virtual machine, and I think I only allocated this a few. We're gonna do no for right now on networks, and here we go. And then we can do server manager here. And right now we don't really have any services running, and this is running a little slow. I would probably I didn't set so one thing with Quick Create is it automatically sets up what you have, so you don't have to do it. So it does kind of recommended settings. So right now you got your local server, and you don't really have any services running other than file and storage services, which is kind of default. And so you got some red in here because some of the services haven't started, and you got some events in here. So let's see, you can go to event viewer and figure out what's going on here. Task scheduler, and like I said, some of these services will kind of go away once everything starts, but it takes a minute sometimes. So that is getting Server 2016 installed. It's pretty much the same for most operating systems, if you install by ISO, um, and you can either download the VHD file, which is the virtual disk file, which already has the operating system. It's a little bit easier, but this only works with Hyper-V. And then you can also download the what was the other one? The ISO, the VHD, and there's another format on there. Let me see. How about exit it out? Well, but you can come through and do quick create and then local source, and then you can actually install it that way. So uh, pretty easy. Um, and then of course to come in here, you can shut it down by these little buttons up here. You can either do a save, it's to save your state. So you can come back in, you can pause it, you can reset the virtual machine, um, or you can shut it down. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this down. All right, and yes, we want to shut down. All right, shutting everything down, stopping services. All right. Now, when you come and do the quick create, it'll create the virtual machine here. Um, you can either start the machine over here on the lower right side, or you can come up to this virtual machine, and of course we can rename it and all kind of stuff like that. Let's see. We're gonna name this server 2016. All right, and we can come in and go to settings. You can either do settings here by right click and go to settings, or you can come down here. You can click on the virtual machine, come down here, click on settings, and then you can see exactly what we got going on in here when it comes to the firmware and the different devices that are connected to it. So memory, we've only got 2 gigs of memory. You can up this to, I think, total system memory maximum, it has 10 gigs I can use on here. The minimum is 512 meg, and you don't want to do 512 meg. I'm gonna keep it right at 2 gigs right now, because we haven't started loading anything on here, so there's really not a whole lot we're using this for. It's just a little test machine. One thing I did want to come in here and do is change the network adapter. But before we do that, you got your security, firmware, hard drive, and of course, the hard drive, DVD drive is how we actually install. So in here, you can actually, if you want to manually come in and choose that file, which the quick create did it for us already. So, but you can come in, image file, click browse, browse to the file, but you've only got to do this the first time. Yeah, it took a minute, but yeah, and then you can go and choose wherever your file is. So as of right now, we connect, and then start. We don't have any internet access on this thing, so it's just a standalone machine, not connected to the internet, because the default switch does not have a connection to my wireless card that I have on here. So if we want to get on the internet, we're going to have to. There we go. Took a minute there. We're going to have to set up a virtual switch with a connection to the wireless adapter on this physical machine. So, but I can show you here how to do that once we get in. This thing's taking forever. What's going on with it? There we go. Let's see. Yep, we can connect at that resolution. Connect server 2015 enhanced session mode. Alright, that's cool. I may need to up the RAM on here to 4 gigs. So we don't have any issues here. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. So we can click on here. Go ahead and click settings. Go to memory. And we're going to up the memory. Let's do this. We got to make sure we turn off. Yeah. Turn it off. And then we can go down to settings here and go to memory, and then we can should be able to change it. Oh, we can't change it. Let's try this again. All right, let's try this one more time. There we go. All right, so we're going to change it to 4098, which is 4 gigs of memory. And we're going to click apply, and then it's going to apply the changes. And what I also want to do is actually give it one more processor. That way we'll speed it up a little bit. Alright, so we'll come to the processor right now. We got 2 processors, so that's cool. That's what I wanted. So we just need to upgrade the memory. And let's see, a merge and process. We'll wait till that gets done. And we'll skip past that too. All right, so let's go ahead and connect back up here. Actually, let's do this. So as of right now, on our virtual machine, we can't get on the internet because we're not connected to a wireless device. So what we need to do is actually create a new virtual switch. So what we're gonna do is actually come over here to, yeah, I know. We don't want to do that. Okay. So what we want to do is come over here to Virtual Switch Manager. And as of right now, it's on the default switch. So what we're going to do is actually create a virtual switch. And I'm going to just name it wireless connection. All right. And external network is what we want to keep it on. And this is my wireless adapter, the Asus USB 3 Nano wireless adapter right now. All right, so, and then we click apply. And that's fine. So, pending changes may disrupt network connectivity. That's totally okay. So we'll click yes there. All right, and it'll apply changes. There we go. And so we click OK here. So we have to go back into settings once we created the virtual switch, and network adapter, and we're gonna click the drop down here, We're going to create connect to the wireless connection, which is what we created just now. We're going to click apply, then click OK. And then now we should be able to connect to the internet on our virtual machine. So we're connected and get it started here. And let's continue. Okay, well, it's doing something here. We'll give it a second. Checkpoint operation failed. Okay. Let's do this. You're gonna always run into these little weird issues, so we'll just exit out. And we'll come back in. Hyper-V Manager. Pull it back up. And let's see if it'll cooperate this time. Nope. Okay, well. I'm going to delete and start over. But that's pretty much about it when it comes to creating a new virtual machine with the quick create method. I'm not sure why it gave me that error, but what we're going to actually do now is come through, and instead of using quick create, we're just going to create a manual, a virtual machine manually. So over on the right hand side in the actions pane, we're going to click new. And then we're going to click new virtual machines. But the three options, you can create a new hard disk, you can create a new floppy disk. I mean, you can create a SAN device, whatever. But we're going to do the virtual machine. And so the wizard comes up here before you begin. This wizard helps you create a virtual machine. You can use a virtual machine in place of a physical computer. Blah blah blah. So all right, so we can go next. And new virtual machine, we'll do Windows 2016. Windows Server 2016. All right, and I'm actually going to store my virtual machine in a different location. So I'm going to actually go to my D drive, because of course you guys saw earlier that I am running out of space on my C drive, and I actually have a virtual hard drive folder here. So we'll select the folder, put it in there, and then click next. You can actually keep it on the default if you want to, if you have enough room on your drive. It's just I don't have enough room on my C drive, so I'm going to put mine on my D drive. But you can put it anywhere if you got an F drive or whatever, or you can put it on a flash drive if you wanted to, as long as you stick that flash drive back in there when you boot your virtual machine, and it has enough memory on it. So click next, and I'm going to do generation 2. But if you have any machine that needs to support 32-bit and x64, 64-bit processors, like an older version of Windows that you need to run, then you'll probably do a generation 1. But since I'm just doing a 64-bit operating system, Windows 2016 is 64-bit only. I don't have a 32-bit, so we can just go ahead and click next there. After choosing generation 2. All right, and startup memory, I'm gonna do 4098 for 4 gigs. And of course, we're gonna use the dynamic memory for this virtual machine, so it'll just use as much memory as it needs, up to 4 gigs. So, all right, and let's see, connection not connected. We're gonna go, of course, to our wireless connection, which I showed you guys how to use earlier. so that we get on the internet. I'm gonna click next, and then so server 2016 VHA, okay, VHDX, okay. It's creating the virtual hard disk. Um, size, okay, it's cool. All right, let's create. Go click next. We'll leave that as the default. Um, we're gonna install an operating system from a bootable image file, and of course I'm gonna come in here to downloads. Go down and get my copy of Windows Server. All right, and we're gonna click next to go ahead and create the virtual machine, complete the wizard, and then we'll click finish here. So we got everything set up. It'll go ahead and create the machine, and should be able to just go ahead and connect and then start it. Click OK to, or hit enter or whatever to boot to the image file. And there we go. And as you can see, it is a little bit faster this time because I put more memory in the virtual machine. So it should be running. It should run a little faster on boot up. So we'll do the desktop experience standard, and this is actually server 2022. So we'll click next, and we'll accept the license agreement. Of course, it's for the eval version. This is only a 180-day license. So once you install it, it starts your 180-day license. So we'll go ahead and click next. We'll do a custom install. We'll use this hard drive here. Click next. And we'll copy everything through. All right, so it's finished installing, and of course it's going to restart like it did last time. This part is pretty much still cut and dry. It's the same process as with the quick create. And once it restarts one more time after getting things set up, we'll have a working operating system. And this is pretty much about the same process, and whether you're installing any form of Microsoft Windows or Ubuntu, Linux, it's the same process. Um, so Linux may be a little different in how things are set up, but in order to get it installed, everything's pretty much similar. You just kind of go through the prompts and set some stuff up. So, I mean, pretty much you've installed operating system. If you're at this point, you've installed an operating system on the machine, hopefully, in order to um, be able to wrap your head around this. So, all right. For 2 more gigs of RAM is a big difference in getting things set up. You see how slow it was last time, and how a little snappier it is this time with the 4 gigs of RAM. Of course, you start out with the administrator account, and we will set our password. Click next or finish. And here we go. So you can't hit Control Alt Delete because it'll exit you out of the system. Of course, it wants to verify the resolution there, so let it do its thing there. We'll go ahead and type in our password after hitting Action, Control Alt Delete. All right, and we'll get logged in. Of course, first thing it does is log in as the administrator. Then once you get everything set up, you can come in and actually create your user account, which we'll do on the next video. So what I'm planning on doing with this series is we're gonna go through and build out a whole server. And we'll do this with Windows 2022. I've not used Windows 2022. Let's see, network. So do you want to allow PCs to be discovered? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And so we have services starting. Let's see. Try assigning servers with Windows Admin Center. Okay, yeah. So server manager, get that out of the way. So we have a working server with server manager coming up. That's pretty cool. We have, let's see what we got, access to the internet here. Yep, let's see if we can run some updates here. Because before we can do anything else, we're gonna have to update this machine. So let's go ahead and check for updates. And the reason we probably had issues with the last installation, the 2016 installation, probably because I didn't shut it down properly. And so you have to be very careful about how you shut these virtual machines down, because sometimes they will they'll get corrupted if you don't shut them down correctly. So keep that in mind. So we'll check for updates. We'll make sure. There we go. So this is how we also know that we have internet connectivity, because this would have aired out if we didn't have connectivity to the internet. So of course it's downloading the updates. So we'll let this run, and that's probably gonna do it for this video. Um, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.